Hi folks, back to you again with video number 4, which I'm going to call Observation Part 2. As promised, I'm going to get out in the field, and I'm delighted to say that today it's gone from about -3 yesterday to +12 degrees Celsius today. So what an opportunity to get out. It's bright, it's sunny at times, and I really just want to get out there and have a look around one of the local nature reserves, capture something on camera for you, bring it back and have a very brief roundup and discussion at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to get out in the field and see you in a minute. So folks, here we are at the local nature reserve. You'll have to forgive my lockdown haircut. It is as it is, as they say. You can probably hear in the background the wonderful stream that runs through this, and we'll be having a look at a few things. So we're looking at observation again. I guess we've looked at the sort of theoretical side, practical side of observation, and now we're going to look at it out in the field as such. So I've just arrived here. I've sort of centered myself. I've done what I would do regardless that I know this place very well. It would be the same if I arrived somewhere for the very first time. There are dog walkers and other users around here, so if you hear various extraneous noises, I'm afraid I just can't help it. Maybe I'll try and edit some of them out. But it is as it is. I mean, this is a nature reserve within a relative urban setting, a very beautiful one in my view, and it is also a triple SI, which we'll come to that later on maybe. So without further ado, let's have a look around, and I'll talk you through some of the stuff I do and use. So here we go, this is the stream. Looking at it, it has changed a little bit of its course. It's scoured out the bank a bit since the last time I was here. But that said, even if it was the first time I was here, I'd like to spend a few minutes around this, just absorbing what this stream is to the local environment. Because I know this quite well. I know there are different birds that inhabit this stream, a dipper for example, and a kingfisher, and some of the mallard duck that we see nearly everywhere. But it's wonderful to see them and to appreciate how much this stream is important in their lives, and indeed should be in ours. Contemplating running water is quite a thing in my life, and I think it is extremely healing. There are many sides to water, which maybe I'll do a separate video on at some stage. But I love just being here and listening to the stream, looking at the mossy banks and looking at it. It is fairly quiet today. I have seen this way up on top of this bank after really heavy rains. There are a few other people moving around at the moment. As I said, we may get some extraneous noises. I've also noticed that there's some flies. I'm not sure what they are, flying around. So that's really nice to see, because for the last few weeks there's been 0 insects. So I'm going to go a little bit further and walk along this way, trying not to trip up on the brambles that are sprayed out all around the banks. And let's see what we can see up here, coming into some sunshine, which is so wonderful to see today. And it's about 9 degrees, 10 degrees I think down here in the valley. So that's really such a joy, given that we were at about -3 or -4 at night, never mind wind chill. So we're coming up to something that, believe it or not, this was constructed about a year ago. It's just your average sort of gateway through, demarcating the one side of the reserve into other ground. And I've just seen the dipper fly there. Amazing. We never get near. We'll never get near enough. Oh, there it is there. It's just there, dipping away. I'm going to approach very quietly. Our dog has just disturbed it. Yeah, and there is the dipper paddling in the stream just below me here. How wonderful to see that. Unexpected and very, very welcome. I think it's a male. Not sure. I'll try and get around the other side of this tree. Now the dog's disturbed it again, but it's feeding, and now obviously the dogs have gone into the stream and disturbed it completely. So this is a fairly standard little construction of a gateway from the reserve into some other land, probably owned by a farmer. Basically, I want to just discuss this for a moment. I've picked up about 5 or 6 really good shots just on this particular construction of timber on the gate itself. The reason I say that is that often when we go out and if we're taking photographs in the wild, the conditions can change by the minute, and we can sometimes suddenly get gusts of wind or a constant wind even during the summer. So it may be bright, it may be warm, it may be lovely, there may be lots of stuff flying around, but it's very difficult to capture them sometimes because they're so active. And of course I'm talking here particularly about insects and invertebrates. So having a check out of something like this, if you find it, if you come across it either for the first time or in your regular patch if you have one, is really interesting. So we'll give this a quick once over just to see if anything's emerged or anything's managed to be brave enough to come out. And this time of the year, again, I wouldn't expect to see much. Might see a bumblebee, a very brave bumblebee, but let's have a quick look around. So just checking the sunnier side first, because that's where insects are more likely to warm themselves up. Nothing going on there. Nothing here. No. Usually one sees it in the first minute or so, something will catch your eye. Insects obviously have quite an active life a lot of the time, and they will jump about and come around all over the place. But nothing here, so let's just go through to another quieter part of the stream as well. Unfortunately, we've seemed to lost the dipper. Just as an aside, just as a note, the lady had 6 dogs, 5 of them were not on a lead, in other words only 1 on a lead, so they're completely running wild in this reserve, and it is something sadly which we come across all the time. People do not seem to be conscious of how much disturbance dogs give. The dogs plunged into the stream, disturbed the dipper about 3 or 4 times that was trying to feed, and okay, you can say okay, it can go back to the stream, but sometimes when birds get disturbed or wildlife gets disturbed, they get frazzled, they get a bit shook, and it takes them a couple of minutes to get back into what they were doing, and that's valuable time lost if you're a very small bird that has to, for example, take in its body weight every day in foodstuff. So anyway, let's not dwell on that. Let's check out the stream further up here. There's a little waterway coming through here, and it's just a trickle today. That was a raging torrent about a week ago, even through the snow. And delight as well how much these watercourses, must be millions of them around the UK, how much they change during the seasons. And of course they all add and of course take away from the landscape in terms of erosion. But it's fascinating because something will find a living here, something will come down to this stream and at some stage take a drink or maybe even breed in it if it's something like a caddisfly or something like that. I don't caddisfly really like more still water, but you get what I think I'm talking about. Looking across this area here, which just looks like a cornfield in a way, has been mown, but that is actually the remaining stems of Himalayan balsam, that really dreadful invasive plant. And I say it's dreadful, okay, we can say a lot about invasives and whether they're dreadful or not, but when they take over a woodland that otherwise would have woodland plants in it, I think we can genuinely call them unwelcome guests. And as you can see, if you can see there with the I don't think this focuses as far as we want to see, but it stretches right up into the woodland, and of course this is only one of thousands of areas even in Yorkshire that have been invaded by Himalayan balsam. Anyway, let's get back to our stream. I'm just going to stop here for a moment and do something that this gimbal will behave itself. Something that I recommend anybody to do during the time. I'm going to lean against a tree. Now, there's 2 reasons I do that. One, to stop moving about so that any wildlife in the area can gradually get used to my presence. Obviously, with this here, we're not on our own. I'm not on my own. I always would touch the tree and have a look at it, check it out, get to know this tree a little bit better. And it may be somewhere I come back to again and again and again. It's a lovely viewpoint on the stream, and obviously I wouldn't be rabbiting away if I was doing this on my own. So by speaking, I'm managing to disturb anything that's around. But if I'm quiet for a moment or two, maybe that dipper would just come back. It's an interesting little section here. The stream divides and then reforms, so forming an island in the middle, which I guess is too small really to be a sanctuary, and given again the amount of intrusion and disturbance here. But in a normal practice, if this was out in the wild, I would always leave somewhere like that alone. I wouldn't go onto an island, I wouldn't disturb it. There could be something there that is using it as a nest site or a refuge, so leave well enough alone. There is a conflict always when one is out somewhere around sticking to the path and, as my good friend Linda says, going off-piste. In other words, saying, to heck with that, let's see what's around this corner or over that piece of hill, but going off the path. I think if one does it judiciously and not as a sort of a way of just being difficult or being contrary, I think there's a lot to be said for it at times. But there again, some of the best wildlife experiences I've had have been just by being quiet, by being on a path, but not rushing, not staying sort of onto a particular agenda. In other words, just staying quiet, relaxing into what's there. A lot of what I say, I hope will make some sense, or is making sense to you. That would be nice. One of the concepts I might bring on board at this stage is being childlike. Now, I stress being childlike as opposed to being childish. If I was childish, I'd probably run through the woodland here with a stick, banging it against the trees and roaring and shouting. That's what kids do, they let off steam. But being childlike is an attempt to let go of stripping oneself of all the adult layers that we accrete or that are given to us or imposed upon us even from early days onwards. In doing that, you will free up your mind, body and spirit to be more open to what nature, inverted commas, is really all about. And I think we're always debating the concept of what nature is. Well, of course, humans are part of nature, but what we mean by nature is that which is not man-made. Maybe we can use that as a very awkward title. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go up a little bit further up here into a slightly different part of the environment. The breeze is picking up. I mentioned our senses at the start of this, and people forget that sense of touch. Our skin is a receptor all the time, or particularly our face is very sensitive to temperature changes. And it's always interesting if a breeze begins to blow. I always look towards the direction of that breeze. Often in these latitudes, and this where we are, it can herald the impending arrival of a rain shower or something like that. Not always, it may be just an ambient breeze blowing around. It's very pleasant, really pleasant here today. I'm really so glad I can share this with you. So we're coming up to the another gate that leads into the reserve proper, and you can see here loads of molehills. Gosh, yeah, they've been busy. There's a wonderful smell of fresh earth. That smell I'm sure gardeners know and look forward to this time of the year. So this isn't a garden, but it is, I guess, in another way. In certain cultures they might call it God's garden. But that smell, that really vitalized, I find that amazing. It's the smell of primordial sort of oomph. And given that the moles put a lot of work into it, we can get a little bit of benefit. A lot of people don't like moles. I actually do. So we're in the woodland now, and I'm speaking quietly because I can hear there are a mixed flock of the blue tits and grey tits, the odd wren. I just found a rock to sit on here, and I could do this for an hour, 2 hours. I won't today. And what is above me is probably invisible at this distance. Yeah, they would be, is a family group of long-tailed tits. They're the ones calling to each other constantly. I think there's about 7 or 8 of them. One can see them early on when they've When they've emerged as young, you can get a dozen or so. And they're happy out today because they're getting into all the tiny crevices in the trees, looking for insects, spiders, you name it. Beautiful little bird when you see them up close. Lovely coloration. I guess this time of the year, just before the leaves come on the trees for the next month or so, is the best time ever to check out woodland birds. Get yourself really familiar with woodland birds. They disappear effectively within the tree canopy and the tree leaf cover once spring gets going. So if you're any doubt about woodland birds, this is the time to see them, particularly birds like tree creepers. Look out for them on the larger trees. I see here to my right there's a wonderful holly, and these hollies are quite extraordinary. I find them all over Yorkshire and even quite high up in the Dales. Whether these were ever planted or they were wild, I do not know, but some of them grow to quite a size, and some of them are obviously quite old. Now, if you just hear that screech in the background, I'm just going to turn the camera to the left a bit, because that was a jay, a Eurasian jay, and it's right in front of me now, about 30 feet away. They're cheeky and quite brave, and it knows I'm here. There it goes up there. I don't have telephoto on this, so I won't see it. A couple of wood pigeon just burst cover there. They're being disturbed by someone. The jay has gone up the tree there. In Cardiff, of all places, I saw them hanging about on the ground, just as if, with passing traffic and passing people. They'd obviously got used to the urban disturbance. These ones would be a bit wilder. It's flown off now. There are resident jays here that breed in this wood, at least one or two families, I think. It is beautiful mixed woodland, obviously managed, but it sort of moves on to Shipley Glen, and it's as wild as one would get around these parts. So I just see some walkers passing by, so jogger, and somebody with a whole load of bouldering kit. So they're going off to try one of the massive gritstone boulders that are farther up in the glen. It is lovely to see people, use somewhere like this. I guess we always have that conflict, don't we, between the rights of nature and the rights of humans. I think rights are really the wrong word, and we should really think of it in a much broader context. Something like the integration of, or the living with, or symbiosis. I'm sure there's some much better terms for it. So I've sat here for about just under 20 minutes, and I guess I wouldn't have made thrilling footage watching me just sit here, but I was sitting here with a certain mindfulness and certain consciousness, just letting the bird life in particular speak to me, looking around, feeling the sun on my left side of my face and the breeze that gently came through once or twice. And in doing so, I've noticed a couple of things about this piece of little forestry here. Some of the trees seem to have been sheared off at a height of about 16 or 18 feet, and I just wondered, was it way back in 1987 when we had that incredible storm? There doesn't really seem to be a logical explanation, but there again, in woodland, one often finds things that don't seem to be logically explainable. Obviously the story of each tree is unique. They will have a collective history, as has been accepted in recent years. Trees communicate with each other, and in fact with fungi, and there's a lot more going on underneath the ground than we ever knew before. I've also seen some lovely little bracket fungus about 20 feet away, so I'm going to go over to these and have a look at them. I'm really thrilled. I've discovered what people who know and promote forest bathing might call a sit spot, a particular spot. It's a rock. It's just about right for me, and I haven't got anything to cover it today, so I've got one glove. I'm sitting on a glove, so goodness knows what I'll be like when I get up, but never mind. The jay has come back. And funny enough, you know, since I've been sitting here, it's got closer and closer at times. It knows I'm here. It's looking at me right now. So I'm not going to look at it. One of the many tips, or one of the many things I always say to people is, if wildlife is looking at you, don't look at it unless it's a massive predator and you want to try and judge its next move. But I don't think I'm in any fear of being attacked by a jay. So I'm just going to look away, keep my voice very quiet, and actually shut up for a minute. So I don't know if you saw it just flying down low there, and there it goes again. Now, environmental quandary number 73A. I just come across this in the woodland here. It's some type of container, some jogger's container or something. So I'm going to pick it up, and I'm not sure if I'll just dispose of it or whether it actually might be. Oh yeah, I'm not sure. But the one thing is that these type of containers or anything like this lying around, you know, as they decay, this one mightn't decay for 100 years, but you know, the problem is if that didn't have its top, animals can go into it, get trapped sometimes, and glass bottles are particularly bad. So I'm going to take this one with me, and I don't know, maybe the top will be useful for something. Or the container even, who knows. Coming up now to one of the main sort of thoroughfares through the woodland here, and it's where all the folks have been up and down. So I've only really been maybe 100 metres or slightly more away from a lot of people trucking up and down on their daily exercise. Let's see what we can see. I'm going to go down to the mill race, so to speak, the stream that comes through here, and the one that we've been looking at. I think it's called the Lode Beck Gill. I'll check that out later on. And there's that chap coming back with his bouldering stuff. Maybe it wasn't the day for bouldering. So we're coming down to where the stream is sort of corralled, put to use as it might have been, and there is a large pond, a large catchment here, and then this lovely sort of mill race that's in gradual decline. I think somebody did a bit of repair on it a few years ago, but it's just lovely to see the water, isn't it? I'm going to take it gently coming down here, so if you hear a scream you'll know it didn't go well. Oops. Very glad I brought my boots today. Wore my boots. I often bring them and don't wear them, which is really stupid, but there again, sometimes the excitement just gets to me and I forget to put on my boots. So, there we go. Tumbling water in sunlight. What could be nicer? Even if it is part of a man-made structure. Love the way there's the randomness, the sort of with the little bubbles of water coming up, the drops coming up, being sprayed up. If you concentrate and look at one, or double cross your eyes a tiny bit and just stare at one section, maybe get them a tiny bit out of focus. It's quite extraordinary. Never repeats. So, let's finish off with a gentle walk through the woods. I'm coming up now what in into what is really Shipley Glen. Again, very, very popular. Friends told me that way back in the maybe 1890s or turn of the century, this particular area could see up to 100,000 day trippers from obviously the cities of Leeds and Bradford and all about and further afield. There were obviously some more attractions there at the day. There is a little tramway still here, which I haven't been on yet. We'll get onto it at some stage. Delightful area. The rock topography, I guess, really makes it. It's grit. I think it's Millstone grit, or one of those grits. But nature in general doesn't seem to be doing too bad around here. I have promised myself a visit back here at night, in the dead of night, to see what's moving, but that's a completely different prospect. So we're back on the Triple SI again, looking fairly forlorn this time of the year, but so much to see here during the summer, and in fact even in the next few weeks there'll be all types of things popping up, particularly on the botanical front. And I have seen, you know, it holds good numbers of butterflies most years because there's a cross section of plants that they can feed on. I'm going to leave it at there, folks. Obviously a lot of editing required here, and just to wish you the very best out and about. Well folks, that's the end of the fourth video on observation. It's observation part 2. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I just wanted to demonstrate how I go about observing wildlife, nature, when I'm out and about. And of course, it's not just the external observation, it's the internal observation as well. I guess with what I found today, and being sort of rather enthused with the good weather, I didn't dwell very much on the internal. So I might make another video, a shorter one, just on the internal responses to what we see, and to how we prepare ourselves, so to speak, for a deeper connection with what is actually out there, with nature in general. So that may be the next one. I'd take about 5 days to do that. I'd try to put one of these out approximately every week. And then after that, we'll go on to the emotional connection, maybe even combine the two videos. So the idea is that it's not only an acquisitive side or a sensory side, but the sense of having a deep connection really depends upon an emotional connection, something which many of you probably have already, but can always be deepened and I wouldn't use the word improved, but broadened, shall we say. So till that time, take care of yourselves, keep safe, see you soon.